Hello everyone, this is Kathleen and I am happy to be here today to spend a little time with you. I want to bring you up to date on where we are with the Vintage Journal and the Vintage series. And I do want to say thank you to all of my new subscribers and welcome. I have had another little bump in subscribers and I appreciate those of you who are new to my channel. And I also appreciate those of you who are old. Oh my gosh, I love old friends. And I love seeing your name when it pops up in the comments. I appreciate so many of you who have been with me for such a long time. So new or old, if you love repurposing and giving new life to old materials, this video is going to be the perfect project for you. So we're going to dive into how to break down a vintage book. Because here you can see I have the Vintage Journal is bound. I have a number of pockets and things finished and ready to go. So I'm making progress, good progress. But now I am almost to the point where I'm going to need a bunch of ephemera to put in the pockets. And that is a happy coincidence. Because just recently I had an opportunity to go on a little antiquing trip, and I want to show you what I found. I did find these two beautiful old vintage books, and yeah, this one I had to pay a fair amount of money for, but I just fell in love with that cover. Don't you think it's beautiful? Yeah, I can't wait to make another vintage book with that. And then this one is pretty plain, but I just really love the color. And it's that old book cloth. And those are my favorite ones. Anyway, so I wanted to just show you the things that I use out of these books. Everybody talks about book pages, book page pockets, and how we use these old books. We have lots, right? Yes, if you've been doing this very long, you're going to have a bunch of these little book blocks. That's what this is called. It's called the book block, the text block. Yeah, so let me just take a minute, just for those who are new, let me just show you how to remove the spine, because these are now ready for me to prepare the spine, and I have a video talking about how to prepare the spine on a gutted book. So I will link that below. But let me just show you quick in case you don't, because I don't know that I cover this in that video. But what you want to do is open the cover and just quickly kind of bend that back. It's called breaking the spine. Yeah, it's what the librarians always told you not to do when you were a kid. And then just take an X-Acto knife and slice it. Now you have to be kind of careful that you don't cut the cover off the spine. You want to maintain that spine if you can. So you just slice that block off and then you turn it around. And now once you get the first one done, it's pretty easy to do the second one. Just kind of free that up. And I try to angle the knife so that it goes into the block and not into the spine. It's just as easy as that. And then you've got the cover ready, and you can finish it from there. If you don't know how, then please take a look at that other video that I'll link. Okay, so then once you have the covers removed from the block, then that's when I start harvesting the pages. So that's what this video is going to be about, and I want to show you projects also, how I use these pages. So the first thing I do is I take the flyleaf. Yeah, I love these papers. So I remove those first thing, and then that gives me some colored papers that I can use all kinds of different ways. I use them as shorts often, and I use them as papers. I'll cut it down. So now I have that trimmed, and this becomes just the most perfect journaling paper. I can decorate it from here, so I can round the corners and then do whatever other kind of decorating that I might like. Sometimes I don't want to decorate at all. Sometimes I just want something very simple like a stamp. I like to put papers behind, you know, some of the corner tucks, and they need to be big enough to fit behind there, and then anything that's decorative is covered up by the pockets. So I don't need really anything other than just maybe a simple stamp. So that's one common way that I use the book, starting from the very beginning. Sometimes with the Reader's Digest books, I'll harvest this for a book plate in the beginning. Other times I will use it like this. Yeah, so I've got this, and I can do another little collage on that or something else, but I often use those pages for pockets like this. Okay, then the next thing that I harvest from the book is this title page. Sometimes you get 2 title pages. So there's this, and I will do the same thing, just cut that down and slide it, because there's lots of room to journal here, right? Okay, so I will save this page, and then maybe we'll come back and do something with this. So then here's another title page that doesn't have really any room, so I'll skip that one. But I might want to now go through and save images. Yeah, I have so many Reader's Digest books, and sometimes the illustrations are really quite pretty. So I will do that. And then I start looking. Oh, look, there's a beautiful illustration. And this one, I have a whole file of these illustrations that I keep. So I'll do that. Look, there's those 2 things can be used as embellishments in a collage. So I do go through and cut as many illustrations as seem appealing to me. Okay, now let me skip to these vintage books, and I'll show you what else I like to use. So I've already pulled all of the flyleaf papers, right? The ones that are blank. Those are my very favorite because I can just use those as plain journal papers. So sometimes I will just do a little chalking or make a swipe with a paintbrush and some watercolor and just take a swipe like that. Just something that will seem like I've done something deliberate. And then I can use those as journaling cards. So this one, I've done this little collage on the back just to cover up some of that other information. This one was kind of rough and torn, so I just took a piece of faux vintage cellophane tape and put a sticker on it, and so there's that one. Okay, so that's really a common way that I gather up some journal paper is with these title pages and flyleaf. Okay, I have a whole file in my file drawer of these kinds of pages, and I use them constantly. So with these 2 books that I just purchased, I've already done that. I've taken all of these pages out, and I've removed these illustrations as well. Look, this is a beautiful image, and it's completely blank on the back. So those are prizes in my in my view. So I will just slide her in. I may have to trim it down a little depending on the size of the journal. But yeah, I love that. Sometimes I'll do a little more and dress them up, but sometimes I just leave them. I try to rip off the spine, the bits. So for these two books, this is what I managed to get, these little textured pieces. And being a collage artist, I just see all kinds of possibilities in this kind of thing. So I love that. And we'll make a little project with these in a minute too, if we have time. So I'll put that aside. And then the next thing I do is I flip through the book and I start looking for the pages that have, oh, that's another little pretty, I will take that out. I will look for the pages at the end of the chapters, or when there's a bunch of blank space at the end, the end page of the chapter. And this could have, you know, whatever else on the back, text usually, but then you have this great big space here on the back, and that makes a perfect journaling card. So I will, with this as well, I will trim that down around the corners, and that way it looks like it's intentional. The cut is intentional now. And here's what it looks like on the back, all that room. And then I will do something on the front to just make it a deliberate project. So I'll do something like this. I just had a little, this was just sitting on my desk, and so I just roughed that up, glued it down, put a little sticker there. So that makes a nice decorative front, and then you've got all this room to journal on the back. And these pages, a lot of times the pages are quite fragile, and so they just kind of start to fold and break off. So you just need to understand with vintage journals that that's the nature of the paper. It is brittle, so you have to be kind of careful with it. So if we have something like this, let's just quickly do maybe a napkin decoupage. Yeah, let's do that. We'll take it maybe about right there. Sometimes I use like a wet Mod Podge. Okay, so I just place it here. I take my fingers and kind of mark where I want to put the glue. I take glue and I put a fair amount on, and then just place this down. And smooth it down. And I take special care to get the edges glued. If I find a little place, then I sometimes have to come back. Okay, so that's pretty. Let me dry this. Okay, now to finish this off, I might use a little label. And my antique stamp thing. Great. So there's that. Now on the back, I can do something here. I could put some washi tape, or I can just leave it. I don't mind leaving it at all. This is a nice color for this, so maybe I'll just put this stamp on here. Yeah. I like the way that looks. Let's do something similar on here, because this side I glued, which you can also do if you want something a little thicker. You can glue a second paper onto the back. So let's just, I think we'll just use this. And this is just a dyed tea bag. So we're just going to tear a little piece off. And I'm just going to kind of gather that. Okay, I like that. All right, so there's those pages that are like partial. The other thing that I really like to do with these partial pages, and I make sure that I try to harvest all of them, is because this is now authentic paper. And so if I just simply take a stamp and stamp on that paper, then it becomes like an authentically vintage illustration that I can use to embellish other things. So this is the card that I made to show you that technique. So I've just done a little bit of chalking on the back and then used washi tape, a couple stickers. And so that's a really easy thing to do. And all you need is just a block stamp or an acrylic stamp and some permanent ink. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. So this is another thing that I do. I try to look through, read some of the words and look through and try to find these text strips. At the very moment, what else have I found? To stand here dreaming about it. Slowly, her gaze traveled over the room. So Tim Holtz is the one that gave me the idea to use these strips of text. We're delighted to be here. Yeah, so I just start reading and whatever I find that sounds, interesting, more precious than jewels, that would be great to harvest. That eventful night, that would be really great. So that's why, these book pages often end up looking like this, because that's what I'm doing with them. And I some books are better than others. I'll just be frank. The vintage books are usually much better than the books that you get now. They just wrote in those days more poetically, I think. And yeah, so, and particularly if the text is big, so you'll see that this text is much bigger than the Bishop's Carriage. So yeah, see, that's kind of hard to read. And so it makes it much harder to do the text. So if you could get a vintage book with large print text, that would be even better. When I have finished harvesting the flyleaves and the photos and the text pages, if they're useful, then once I have finished harvesting, then I just take this block and recycle it. I was going to show you something to do with these little bits, how I use those little bits. So I would take one of these and I would cut it down. Okay, so sometimes I make journal cards that are 3 by 5, 3.5 by 5.5, 4 by 6, or 4.5 by 6.5. This is a 4.5 by 6.5, and that's a really good size to fit behind my large corner pockets. This is smaller, so this would fit in a smaller pocket. So anything 4.5 by 6.5 or smaller is, I think, a great size for a journal card. So let's just take this stuff. If I just put that about right there, You might think that it's important to pull off some of this texture, but I'm going to leave it. And then I'm just going to put a little strip of washi tape. And I could use another label. I'm going to take this little sticker, and because I don't trust the stickiness over time, so I'm just going to add a little glue. Okay, I think that's a nice journaling paper. Yeah, just slide that in a pocket. So I just have these title pages that I will just put in my stash, and these will just be available as journal papers. I have these two that I made earlier. We have these journal papers, partial text pages, and I think they've turned out really well. There's the little spine bits. So these are just two smaller collages from the text pages. This is a text page that is just folded in half like that. And then here is the illustration from a book, a little text poem, a block of poetry, and I've just stamped it on the back, and I'm just going to slide that right in there. And that's how I have given new life to two new books and created unique journal cards and papers, and have incorporated some of the illustrations and text into my journals. So I hope this has given you some inspiration for reusing and upcycling the old books in your junk journal. So I hope you don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That always helps me out. And I hope now that you'll go grab an old book and some crafting tools and get creative with your own project. Thanks for being with me. I will go away and finish this book now, I think, and then show you a flip through. We'll see you again with the new project.